Okay.
Here we are.
Well, very good. Yeah. It just occurred to me. Well, I don't know how I'm setting up here, but yeah. So it didn't take my passcode for a while, but eventually
Oh,
it worked. Yeah. So you're Andrew. Hi.
well, hello.
Hi. And how many other people are coming? Anybody?
Oh, it's just me and you.
Oh, really? All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I had a
Okay.
bunch of I had a bunch of Zoom calls scheduled for today.
Just individual ones.
For now, yeah. In the future, I'm gonna have a group, a group Zoom kind of satsang type thing, a group discussion type of thing.
Well, that'll be fun. I was looking forward also to seeing Howard.
Oh yeah, yeah. I talked to
Yeah.
him last night. I love Howard, man. He's one of my best
Yeah.
friends. Yeah,
I would love to see him and be on here
that
with
would
him. But
be
this is
that
good.
would be great. Yeah.
So I'm always amazed that you actually came out and said you're enlightened because um, I've been to India many times and been with lots of different enlightened people. And they usually say, if you're enlightened, probably better not to say anything. And about it at all to anybody. And so I was,
Maybe that's what
so
most do. I don't know.
I
Yeah.
know, and you said, "Oh, I tell everybody everything," and I like that. So I thought, well, that's pretty courageous too, because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't know what you're going to get back. People might dispute the
Exactly.
fact and say,
That and
"Why do you think
talking
you
about
are?"
yeah, and sometimes I talk about seemingly metaphysical experiences I've had as well, and the same thing. It takes a type of courage because you're going to get flack. You're going to be deconstructed and destroyed by certain angles of certain communities, and that's okay.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, and
Let's just be radically who we are. Let's just be radically honest and share what it is we think we remember about what it is we think we experienced. At least that's how I see it. I think there's an important aspect to sharing, especially strange and mysterious experiences, just in case there's somebody out there that went through something similar. And I don't know how to put that, but yeah, there's a type of courage.
absolutely.
Yeah,
No, I like that very much. The I don't know, not really, because it is an
yeah,
avenue to communicate with people. And
yeah. I like that group. It's a good one.
so I've been going to India many, many years, many times. And then, of course, the last year I haven't gone, and the couple of years before that. So um, I'm really missing the Sangha and all the people that I'm with there in different places
Yeah,
in India. They're all going to satsangs, and we're all of kind of one mind, and everybody's loving and happy.
yeah,
And now here I am in the States for 3 years, and it's like, oh my God. So it's really wonderful to yeah.
yeah. It's nice to have a digital sangha, a digital community. I'm trying to kind of piece things together to create more avenues of that. There's a lot of good groups out there. There's a lot of good meetups and things, but for some reason, there's this urge inside to manifest more of that or to do it in another way or something. Yeah.
I know, I think it's important. It's almost like, well, we have some responsibility, if we know things and we've experienced things, it's only a natural thing to want to share.
Yeah.
And um, kind of easier to do it maybe this way than with people that or family even. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't really want to tell my son and daughter, because I don't know, it's like they might be expecting something different, and they're like, well, you seem just the same, you're still my mom. And
Yeah.
it's like
And
and
there's
let
also
them.
the kind of the enjoying of the personal dynamic and wanting to kind of maintain, strangely enough, to enjoy and maintain that personal play of relationship, that lila within the household. Um, yeah, and how much would they? Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword because how much would they not only understand but be willing to listen or not? You know, you might be kind of heartbroken by the outcome if they don't want to hear
Well,
about it necessarily.
my son has been with me many times in India, and he was has been exposed to it, and he's still working toward it. He has different groups and so on. And I think let him do his thing his way, you know. And
Yeah.
yeah, I without his mother telling him, you know. So he has his own course, his own way. And
Yeah.
the wonderful thing right now about my family is a couple years ago, the reason I haven't been to India in a few years, a couple years ago, my daughter and son-in-law, who had been wanting to have a baby, and my daughter was pregnant, and she had a miscarriage at 8 months. And it was the most tragic thing ever. I was so
Yeah.
heartbroken with her. So a year later, just about a year later, well, they joined foster care. They wanted to be foster parents because my daughter's 44 now, and she's had a
Mm,
couple of miscarriages, and so.
right.
Well, a couple of years ago, in June to the end of July, they got a 7-pound little baby who was 5 weeks old,
Wow.
who was taken from the parents because he had lost so much weight. You know, and he wasn't gaining weight, and they took him to the hospital, and they took him back to the parents, and he still wasn't gaining weight. And so they took him and his sister, who was a year older, away. And really, he is the dearest little creature. He is the cutest little baby, the most wonderful, beautiful little boy. And he's been a total joy to all of us. And I always feel like I live right next door to my daughter. And so I helped to take care of him. And a year later, the little girl, who's a year older, she was living with the grandmother because she had been taken away by the place with the grandmother. But they want it to keep them together in case it turns out,
Yeah.
which hopefully it is going to turn out, that my daughter and son-in-law will be able to adopt them. So we have these two little creatures here, and just so wonderful. I say that through all this pandemic, I've been joyful. I'm joyful every minute I'm with them, because
Yeah.
they are really, when I'm with them, and you're in the moment and you're joyful, and they're really showing me who we are, you know, that
Right.
we're
Right.
full of love and joy, and that's who we really are.
Yeah.
And so it's been a wonderful COVID
That's
time.
great. Good.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
good to hear the other side of the story for once. Yeah.
Yeah, so cute. So
Yeah.
are you single? Are you?
I'm engaged. I'm engaged, and I have a future stepdaughter, if you will, as well. And I live with my so in my household I have my grandmother, my fiance, her daughter, and a cat.
All right. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. The cat. Yeah. We had to get rid of a nice little dog, beautiful dog, because she just did not like kids. And there was nothing that
Oh,
they tried,
yeah.
and they sent her to school, and no, it wasn't going to work
The
out. So,
jealousy in the dog, maybe.
oh, but she was wonderful. I loved her too. So I live close to the ocean. I'm in Pacifica, and which is 15 miles south of San Francisco, actually,
Ah,
where I am. And I live 2 blocks
nice.
away from the ocean. So I used to
Nice.
take the dog, but now I take the kids, and yeah, so it's
So how do you
wonderful.
like it there? It seems like everyone I know from Southern California wouldn't trade it for the world. They wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Is that how you
Yeah, well,
feel
this
about
is
it?
Northern California. I don't know
Oh,
about
northern.
Southern California. San Francisco is a lot different than LA, you know. So
Yeah.
I have lived here. I grew up in New Jersey, and I moved out when I was 25 in 1965, which was very fortunate. I seemed to be moving to places at the right time. You know, it was
Yeah.
everything was going on now. The hippies were here, the free speech movement
Yeah.
at Berkeley, the Black Panther Party, I mean,
Yeah.
it was all
The
happening
Haight
there. I'm from New Jersey.
Ashbury, yeah, the seeker haven at that time. Still now, I think everybody, a lot of seekers flock to California even now, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of horrifying to see the rest the rest of the world, and
Yeah.
because you get spoiled here because people are
Yeah.
intelligent and they're happy and it's a beautiful
Right.
place,
And that
and
has
they're
a big
educated.
impact, I think. You know, the beautiful surroundings, the paradise-like environment, it has a huge effect on the psychology, I think.
It does. The
Um,
weather. My
yeah.
brothers and sisters followed me out. A lot of them. I'm the oldest of nine, and three brothers came out of the four brothers, and then my let's see, two sisters. My last sister, I say, it took you 50 years to follow me out, and she can't believe the weather coming from New Jersey. Yeah,
She's probably kicking herself thinking I should have done this a long time
I
ago.
know.
Even I'm considering moving to California one day. Why
Yeah.
not?
And where are
Everyone
you?
I talk to that's from there like, yeah, this is the place. This is the
Yeah.
place. You
If you're
definitely
going to
want
be in the
this.
States, you want to be here,
Yeah.
or Hawaii,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
I'm in Iowa, which is where I
Iowa.
was born and
Mm.
raised until I was about 11 or 12, and then I kind of moved around a lot. I've lived in Pennsylvania, Kansas, Alabama. I lived in Canada for 2 months.
Really?
I've bounced around a lot, but I've returned to Iowa a few times. And
Yeah.
yeah, if I were to move somewhere, I'd probably move to, yeah, California, I think.
Yeah. No, it's wonderful. It's expensive.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I'm waiting for, the money side of it.
yeah, it's
Once I have a
realistic.
little money, I'm planning on, for some reason,
Yeah.
I feel intuitively this urge to go there. And everyone I talk to just loves it there, it sounds like. So,
Yeah. 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 The weather has a lot to do with it, and also the mentality. And like you say, people
yeah.
are happy. Um, I mean, there's a lot of homeless. There's a lot of problems. We have
Yeah.
more people in prison than any state. I mean, there's a
Well,
lot
you
of,
have more people than any
well, that's
state.
true. That's
In fact,
true.
there's more
And
people in California than Canada. And Canada's huge.
40 million, something like that. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so many.
A
Wow.
lot. So,
Jeez. Like
yeah.
that's like a
I
fifth of the entire population of the United States.
I
Oh my
know,
God.
exactly. When I left California to go to India in 1974, I came back in 1984, and I think there were like 20 million more people.
Wow.
It was in 10 years, it had
Wow.
increased, or at least 10 million
Whoa.
more at that time. And so there
Oh
were
yeah, that
more
makes sense
roads, and
though. That was the time when all the seekers are flocking there, and yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to India. I've always wanted to go to California. I feel like there's probably similarities in the two, I would imagine too. They both probably have some really beautiful spots, but I've never had the money or the opportunity to travel anywhere too great, but I did eventually. I was in Canada for 2 months up on Victoria Island, which is kind of like the Florida of Canada. It's
I've
kind of
been
got that.
there too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was there for 2 months. I lived in Florida on the Treasure Coast for 6 months. It was beautiful there too. It was weird to my Iowa sensibilities though, because it was February and I'm like, it's 80 degrees out. This is so
I
bizarre.
know.
My
I
my
know.
internal clock is like confused. Like, isn't it supposed to be like, because
I
Iowa
know.
summers and winters are so harsh. Iowa basically
Oh,
only has two seasons. It's either a harsh winter or a harsh summer, and it's got
yeah.
both extremes. So it's always like you're either fighting the cold or the heat.
I know.
So it'd be
Last year I
nice to
went back.
be by the water in 72 degrees. That'd be nice.
Yeah, no, it's pretty wonderful. Yeah. Um, I was in Florida right before I went to India. My son was 4 years old. So we need a lot of shots and things. This is
Yeah.
1973, 74. And so we went to Hawaii, to Florida. My uncle lived there, my godfather. So we went there first. And that was the first time I had with him, we also stayed near the beach, and yeah, before we went to India.
Nice.
India in 1974 was very inexpensive, so that was
Oh
one
yeah,
thing. Yeah, it was very, very, very. It's still pretty inexpensive, but
that's cool. Yeah.
compared to California. But so I lived there 10 years, and from
Wow.
1974 to 1984, and I was with Bhagwan, who became Osho, for
Mm.
4 years, and I don't have a lot of good to say about him now.
I get that a lot from Osho people. I get that a
Oh, dude,
lot.
I'm glad, because a lot of people
Everyone
have,
yeah, a lot of people either overhype him and praise him, or
yeah,
they'll say no, it's bad.
no, no.
Yeah.
I um I had my baby there, my daughter, and that was beautiful and wonderful. And my time there was wonderful. It was very beautiful, a lot of friends. And then when they moved to Oregon, like, I knew a lot of people from before. And one of my best friends, who was at the baby's birth, was very close. She was actually Sheila's bodyguard, Sheila, who was the big person that was running the whole place, apparently. And
Yeah.
it was a nightmare. It was terrible thing. Terrible things went on. Terrible, terrible
Yeah.
things went on.
Basically like a
So I'm
cult,
always
right?
happy when
Yeah.
somebody says that too, because so many
Yeah.
people are, you know,
I get that a lot. I either get
I'm
someone
glad.
saying Osho is the greatest thing I've ever discovered in my he's the best thing that's ever been alive on earth, or they get no, 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 you have no clue
Yeah, no.
how deep this thing goes.
It's
It's
interesting
just funny that
because,
it's always one extreme or the other. No one's ever
yeah,
like, oh yeah, Osho, I'm neutral.
yeah, yeah, no. And I had recently, the last time I was in India, I went to see a guru that I had for the last 5 years. And very recently, I was on a Zoom with him, and he, and I had written to him because one time when I was there, he was talking about Osho and how great he was. And I
Mm,
wrote to him. I didn't want to say anything in front of everybody, but I wrote to him and said, this is the real story, you know.
yeah.
And I was with him. So this last time on the Zoom, well, a few things happened, but the main thing was he started saying, like, Osho was a man like Jesus. And it was like,
Mm,
okay, you are not my guru
yeah.
anymore.
Right, exactly.
Anybody that doesn't know, that
Yeah.
claims to be a guru, he's Indian as
If you
well.
can't see that, then what
And
else
it's
can't
like,
you
and I
see?
wrote to
Yeah.
him about things, and if he couldn't believe, and and so that was kind of sad. I
Yeah.
thought, well, what a shame,
Yeah.
because, well, I had three gurus. I had Osho, and I had another one in between, that was in India also. He was from Brazil, very beautiful man. But a couple years ago, it was revealed that he had his best friend and his wife go and visit him, because he was a counselor, a psychologist, and they were having marital problems. And so he slept with the wife of his best friend.
Yikes.
And it was like, well, okay, that's my second guru. And now it was my third. And
Yeah.
it's like, now I'm fine, because I don't, not looking for a guru. I feel I got everything that I needed. And I thank them all, regardless.
Yeah. And in that way, they served their function, because in a way they showed you
Absolutely.
what not to do, and
Yeah.
and what where the inappropriateness and the appropriateness can, sometimes we can learn best what not to do by seeing the effect it has. So it's not always just living in a way where we witness role models and say, oh, that's how you master life. It's
Right.
also sometimes, oh, well, I don't even have to make that mistake. I'm going to learn from somebody else's mistake. And that
Yeah.
too is how to master life. So, in a way, they served their function as a guru, because you're not supposed to, as far as I can tell anyway, people approach a master to eventually not need them. So,
Right.
in
And
a
that's
way,
how I
they
feel.
maybe
Yeah.
accidentally they taught you something about what not to do, so they served their function.
Yeah. I know. And I was thinking also, because with Bhagwan, he was telling people what to do. Like, he told people to
Yeah,
have
that's a
abortion
big red flag. Oh
all
my
the time.
God. I knew
No.
he was like pairing people up and stuff, which just
Oh,
sounds
yeah. No,
crazy.
he
If your
regulated
guru is
people's
telling you
lives.
what to do and not to do, there's a
Right.
huge red flag. Probably the biggest one I can think of.
I
Yeah.
think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also with, like you just said, and also with my last one, um, he has his family. He lives in Germany, even though he's Indian, and he has his family, his followers. And I'm like, I don't know. To me, it's like you go to a master, you learn, and then they want you to go off on your own. I mean, that's how I feel. It's like,
Yeah, if you keep them close forever, that's why in the non-duality community we kind of make a distinction between sages and gurus, because like the sage is going to be brokenhearted when you finally do leave, but they're gonna let you,
yeah,
even though it's
yeah,
not self-serving. It's gonna hurt them deeply, and they're gonna let you go away forever. Yeah, the
yeah,
guru won't do that. The guru is going to keep you around. They're going to keep the dynamic of seeker and sage in a certain locked manner. They're going to keep you around so they can fulfill their hug addiction and get their oxytocin or whatever it is. And they like that dynamic. So in a way, that's what, the sage doesn't mind having their heart broken to free you
yeah.
from that. Yeah.
Well, I also have been attended Muji's satsangs
Hmm.
many times in Rishikesh, and I really, really love him. He is a person that wants you to become enlightened instantly. He's not saying you
Yeah.
can do this, you can do that. This is what it is. This is who
Yeah.
you are, and you're
Yeah.
all enlightened. And
Yeah.
still, he has an ashram
Right.
and in Portugal, and so. But the lectures that I've been many years, and I've had hugs from him and everything, and it's very beautiful. And I still get something on my email every day from him and from his group, and I love that, and I listen, and yeah,
I've always liked Muji. I know that every master, if you will, probably has, you know, another side that we might not see, that's not as polished and presented to the world. I'm sure, I know there's some people that claim some shady things go down even in Muji circles. I don't know what to believe, but
no,
I'll still quote him once in a while. I
yeah,
still
no,
I still hear his quips in my head once in a while.
yeah,
I always got a good vibe from him, but then again, I have heard some stories that, I never know quite what to believe. I just like to listen and hear people's stories and, you
yeah.
know,
I
and
think
see a bigger
I mean,
picture.
just when I'm in his presence and I look at his face, I mean, I just love this being. And I've heard bad things about the ashram and everything, but like I
Yeah,
haven't been there, so I don't know. And
right.
yeah, so but it has taught me that, enlightened people are people. You
Yeah, they're
know,
exactly. Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
That's why
they
in
say we're
the
not people, we're not
I
really
like in
people,
the exact in the
but
Tibetan tradition, it's really funny because if you go into the esoteric side of Vajrayana, you might form a relationship with a lama, and one of the ways you're supposed to like gain their favor is basically you bring them their favorite liquor and their favorite cookies. The two things they're not supposed to have to pay homage to the no, I love your personhood too, even though it's not there. You're still a human, you're still a person on some level, and
right.
you
That's
don't have to
cute.
hide, the very down to earth thing. There's no alcohol allowed, there's no
Right, right.
cookies. So what you do is, again, you bring the lama their favorite liquor and their favorite cookies.
I like that. I know. I was happy when what's her name? A woman that's with Prem Baba. I mean, at the same ashram when she goes to India, and she smokes cigarettes. And I love
Yeah.
that. I'm
So
like,
did I.
yeah,
When I first woke up 4 years ago, I was smoking cigarettes at the time. I was on and off with cigarettes in my
me
in my
too.
20s, and it was funny because when I woke up, I was having really interesting thoughts about it. I was like, well, I think I know why people smoke these things. It's because of a lack of love, and now I don't have that lack of love, and I don't need these anymore. And I thought, maybe I should keep these as a symbol of relatability. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
guy gets it. He's suffered. Okay, this guy must have suffered. He's having a cigarette. He gets it. And then I thought,
Yeah,
and I'm not afraid of death, so why not? And then I started thinking, it's almost like I'm doing this now for the nostalgia of having suffered. for so long.
Yeah,
I did eventually give up the habit, but I thought it was funny, the different
I know.
little
I went back and
metaphors and
forth
things in that.
for a long time too. And yeah, it's funny. So actually, when I was on the Zoom with my last guru, I was on twice. The first time was very wonderful. The second time, this was a while ago, because I told him, I said, well, it's a little hard here because 90,000 people have died of COVID, and my cousin died last week.
Oh.
So he said, you don't know that. You don't know that that. And then he said, I hear some noise in the background. Is there noise? And I said, yes. And he said, well, can you shut it off? It was my daughter in the other room. The last minute I had to move from this room to from my apartment to the house.
Do this, don't do that. Yeah.
And he said, well, I'm putting you on mute. And then he went on and on about how the news just tells you everything and you don't know. I mean, I'm hurting. 90,000 people died. And my cousin, who was my age and my best friend growing up, we were cousins, and that was it. But that wasn't really what did it. What did it was the Osho.
Yeah,
that was like, okay,
yeah.
well, no.
So have you, you've had an awakening experience then, or?
Well, my first one was before I went to India, and I was having a terrible divorce, and my husband was trying to get my son away, and I had low blood sugar. I didn't know about it after my son's birth. I was in it. It was the worst time of my life, right?
Yeah.
And I went to a hot bath one day. I think I've written too about it. And I was with somebody, and he said, oh, if you stand under this hose, this is a cold hose, you get a real trip. So I stood under this hose, and instantly I saw my light body in front of me.
Wow,
and
really?
It's faster than I could say, if that's me, why am I here? I was in my body. I was in the light body. And I just
were you in both places at once?
No.
Okay.
I was standing there. Oh, well, I did see my light body. So I guess yes. Because I saw the body in front of me, but only for an instant.
What did it look like?
It was my shape. Yes, it was my shape. And when I went in to it, I was in a circle of light. And it just traveled. I mean, it felt like we were traveling in light. And my response, what I was still saying, was, it's all me, and it's so beautiful. And then I said, where is everybody else? And then I was back.
Yeah.
And I went outside of the hot bath, and I fainted for just a second. And what I think I saw was my death. Interesting, because I said, well, I was a Spanish woman. I looked like I was from Spain, and in this black thing, where I was lying there, and there was a man in black. Many years later, in India, I went to a astrologer, right? And yeah, he said I was in Spain, my last life, so I don't know.
And you hadn't told him that? Yeah.
No, I didn't say anything about that. So
interesting.
But anyway, and then I also felt I was in Geyserville, which is in California, and there were the geysers around. It was a very powerful place, really. And I'm like, I was watching all the trees and I'm like, there is no death. That was another thing that I knew. And so that was that experience.
Did it feel like the trees spoke to you in a way?
I think that they were saying that. That's
because I had a moment of grace back when I was a seeker in my early 20s, and I just kind of walked out on my porch, and there was kind of like the forest line there, and it was just, it's almost like poetry to say it now, but I had the distinct impression that like the trees as a group, spoke to me and said, there is joy and non-ego. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, right. So that changed my life, because I was in the middle of trying to keep my son and going to courts, and my family was upset because I was getting a divorce and I was Catholic and I had low blood sugar and I was teaching school and I was
Yeah.
meth. And oh yeah, somebody was renting a room in my house. They had just come back from the service, and he knew what a mess my life was, and he said, "Why don't you go to India?" He said, "I just came back and there's people, there's mothers with kids and they're traveling, you know." And it was like, I'm a real homebody. I mean, I love being home. I love my
Yeah.
family. And it was like, I
Yeah.
love California. And it was like, um, but I had to go to court again, and it was a nightmare. But at the end of it, my lawyer said, okay, because my son, ex-husband's trying to get my son away. And he said, well, he didn't get him this time, but he has no scruples and he has money and he's going to get him. And I said, well, what if I take him out of the state? And he said, you can't take him out of the state. He belongs to the state. And I thought, no, I don't think so. You know, and I planned and I went to India, and my son was
Mm.
4 years old. And so then in India, I was a couple of years after I got there, I was with Osho, Bhagwan, for 4 years. I was in the ashram and I left. I traveled around a lot. I was in beautiful places in Goa and the beautiful ocean, and also in the mountains and the Himalayas. And it was wonderful. And so I'm in Goa one year and I'm suddenly, well, I smoke grass. And hash. That's what grows there, right? And I'm suddenly totally in another space. I'm definitely there where I am. It's beautiful. I'm sitting outside my hut on the beach, and I am in Satori, which I had
Into
learned.
the samadhi or satori?
Um, I learned to say Satori from what I knew from
So
Bhagwan.
was it
I
like a
know.
glimpse of enlightenment then?
Well, it lasted for several weeks. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And everything was perfect. And I'm with my
Yeah.
son, and we're at the beach, and
Yeah.
everything came to me, you know, all kinds of wonderful people, and it was just joyful. And so that went on. A couple of years later, I'm in the mountains, and it happened again. And this time it was a couple months.
Mm.
And then back in Goa, it happened again. And this time it lasted for 3 months. And that was all over a
Wow.
period of 10 years, you know. So. And then I thought when I was enlightened, that would be how I would feel all the time, you know, that I would be in that space.
Yeah.
And people kept saying, forget about those, you know, gurus and things
Yeah.
would say, forget about those spaces, you know, forget about that. And it's like, oh, I can't forget about it. It was the, and yeah. So I feel, so a couple of years ago, I was in my guru, my last guru didn't come to Tiru that time, but I was in with this other guru who was German, and he follows Aurobindo and has his own ashram that follows Aurobindo, who I absolutely love. So I went in there, and first thing he said was, you know, I've looked and looked and looked inside myself, and I just can't find anybody. Well, we've heard
Mm.
that. You always hear that.
Yeah.
There's nobody
Yeah.
there. No, for some reason, it just got me. And I went home and I looked and I looked and I looked. And I went back the next day and I said, and I can't find anybody either.
Yeah. That's
And they
the
were all,
thing.
you know, hooray. And so, yeah, that was, I mean, so many different things happened. I can't really say. I think I was enlightened by my first out of the body, but that out of a body
Mm.
experience, but that was, I didn't, that was a long time ago, you know.
So would you say that suffering has ended?
Well, what happened when I came back a bit early that year because my daughter was pregnant and asked me to come back. I had asked her when I should come back, so she told me. And then two weeks after I was here, she had the miscarriage.
Mm.
And it was the worst pain that we went through
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then after that, I went to the beach. I would sit at the beach a lot and have a smoke. And over a period of time, sometimes I'd take the dog with me and she would just sit by me for all the time. You know, it was strange. My sister took a picture of Siva, but she had to keep the baby inside her for a few days because that's the way it worked. So she took a picture of her and the dog was behind her, and there was this ball of light at the dog's tail, this ball of light. And the strange thing was, what's the word for that? I never heard of it before, but it said, if you ever want to see a spirit, you would see an orb of light, you know. So of course, so many things were happening with the deep emotion and things that were going on, but I saw that. And so I was at the beach and I would just sit there. And I really think that was the time over these next months, actually, that I became more deeper and enlightened, you know.
How old were you at that time?
This is just 3 years ago. So I'm 81 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So many,
So
many years. I've had many experiences over the many
yeah.
years. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, you know, finally, you know.
Yeah.
So, but is the suffering gone? Yeah. I mean, I'm a pretty
Or
happy person
should I
anyway.
say, is at least 90% of the suffering gone? Maybe that's a better
Well,
question.
I don't feel like I suffer.
Yeah.
I found that I was suffering a lot through, I don't know, I got into following Bernie Sanders
Oh.
right
Yeah.
before before Trump came.
Yeah, I
And
like Bernie. Yeah.
oh my God. And then I was so hopeful and everything. And then with Trump and like the last years and everything, I feel it very deeply, and it can get me very sad and depressed. And
Yeah.
especially January 6th. I mean, it was like, what? I mean, this is just horrifying to me, horrifying. And the
Yeah.
fact that, and then Bernie, when he dropped out, it looked like he was going to actually make it. And when he didn't, it's like, they're just never going to let him do it. You know, they're never going to let him do it. They're never going to let him do it. And they
Mhm.
didn't even know whether Biden would win over Trump, and they still wouldn't care, you know, I mean, and I'm really disgusted with my country right now, and fearful. I mean, my prayer, okay, I still pray every day. And one of my prayers is, help me to live in awareness, acceptance, and trust. That's my
Yeah.
prayer.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good
Yeah,
affirmation. Yeah,
yeah, that's it. Because
definitely.
I do have compassion. And I
Yeah.
realized many years ago, I thought, well, people that are enlightened must suffer a lot because of that, because the compassion.
Yeah, it's interesting because on a certain level, there's no suffering at all here. And yet, if I encounter a seeker that's deeply, deeply suffering, I can almost feel it. But it's like a from a distance. It's like I can feel it, but from a great distance. And there's definitely empathy there, but it's like a detached empathy. And there's a deep, deep sensitivity of feeling toward that. And there's also a deep, deep insensitivity that allows this perspective not to be hurt by it in a way that I can still sit with it for as long as is needed repeatedly and not shy away from it.
Yeah,
So suffering doesn't bother me, and yet I can link myself into the seeker's experience in that way. So it's interesting if you ask a sage, do they suffer? It's like, well, to an extent, and that extent is like, upon awakening, 90% of all suffering is gone immediately, and then there's maybe 10% left that kind of slowly fades. But yeah, if you encounter suffering, it's like on a certain level, you can see that it's all self-generated, so it's like not real in a way. And yet on another level, you want to, there's the wish for it to end from both sides.
Yeah, I do have
Yeah.
a friend who's enlightened, and when I explained this to him, he said, "Someday you're just going to laugh that you're worried about Trump." He said, "That's not
Yeah.
really, you
Like,
don't."
I love Trump, but I don't like him. I
Yeah, I
love
can't hate
everybody.
him because I
I
have
love
a lot of
everybody, but I don't like him.
empathy for him. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
like, oh
exactly.
my God,
He's suffering. He's suffering.
Yeah,
I'm not. So in that
yeah.
sense, I can empathize with it. Yeah.
So my sister, um, one of my sisters gave me a book by Thich Nhat Hanh,
Yeah.
and I never was too much into the Buddhist way. I was more Bhagwan, freedom, and
Yeah.
and
The
but
Hindu perspective. Yeah.
he one of the things reading him, it's such a small book that she gave me, and it's talking about if you're bowing down to the Buddha, um, what we realize is that you're empty and the Buddha is empty.
Yeah.
And that helped me a lot because
Yes.
I can't say I know everything being enlightened, but I'm learning every day is what I feel like. I feel like it's continuing every day.
And the unlearning is also continuous. Yeah. So lifelong learner, lifelong unlearner as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was brought up very Catholic, and it was very, very terrible from the time I was
Yeah,
6 years old.
That's
The,
rough because
the
the
nun,
seeking ego mind, the dualistic side of the mind is bombarding itself with shame and guilt, and
oh,
then
it's
to add
horrible.
Catholicism on top of that. Oh dear Lord, that must amplify suffering tremendously.
6 years old, and the nun told us children were going to hell like leaves off the trees in autumn. This is true. I had the same nun for 2 years, and 6 and 7 years old. I cried every day.
It's horrible.
And my parents tried to get me into another Catholic school, and they couldn't afford it because I wasn't in that parish. They would never send me to a public school. And, I understand that. They're both very Catholic. And,
Yeah.
but it was terrible. And so, yeah, it's, so it was, I had my son and my daughter, and that was wonderful because my daughter was born in Pune. So they did not have to go through the Catholicism and everything, and they had a very
Thank
free
God.
life. Yeah. So, and
Yeah, none of the there's so much shame and guilt and repression and control tactics and
Oh, it was
manipulation.
terrible. Yeah.
God, I
And
can't
I
imagine. Yeah.
stayed, when I got my divorce and then left for India, see, then I was 34. And since then, I would say since then, I've been happy. I've been free and I've been happy. I had a difficult childhood up until that in my marriage and everything, but I was away from family. I had to say no to the family, to religion, to my husband, and I just went with my son, and I was free. And
yeah,
so,
basically you were rejecting cultural conditioning itself on every level.
right. Yeah.
Or at least you escaped all of that all at once and then saw the stark contrast.
Yeah, it was great. So I've been blessed. I'm very grateful for my life. I've been really blessed. I would say that pretty much. The rest of my life was wonderful. Of course, we have problems and things, and but no, I've been free. I've been happy, and yeah, I don't know if I could. I mean, when I was telling my friend about that, I was so troubled by the state of affairs and everything. And I said, I don't know if I'm really enlightened. And he said, well, you're enlightened. You certainly can. I understand how you can feel and everything. He said, but you have to, someday you'll just laugh that you were worried about that. It's, it's not in your.
Worrying about anything is interesting because it's like, it's kind of like, to what depth can you truly trust and see that this is all perfect no matter what happens? no matter what seems to happen,
Right.
because it's all there is perfection. All there is liberation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have also my sister who is in science of mind. I think I went with her to her science of mind classes or ceremonies a few times. And it's like, yeah, this is all, it's all truth. It's all, and it's so simple, really. That's the
It's too
thing.
simple. Yeah, it's so simple it can't be seen by the mind. It's
Right.
so simple. It's too
So
simple.
simple.
It's simpler. It's even simpler than oneness. It's like
Then what?
it's like you could say it's all a oneness, but it's even simpler than that. It's kind of on a certain level, it's terrifying to the mind how simple it is. It's beholding its own non-existence if it's lucky, type of thing. So
I know the
it's
emptiness and
finding its own absence if it finds it.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like, yeah, emptiness, there's a clarity, there's an awareness. But yeah, that's why some people say there is no essence, because it's emptiness. It's the same thing as saying the essence is emptiness. Or if I think about the word Buddha or Christ, the first thing I experience is this crystalline emptiness, just this kind of like shimmering in a diamond type, just empty, just clear.
I know it's always described as the chalkboard. I never
Yeah,
really see that the chalkboard or the screen, and well, now I
yeah,
see. I mean, I learn a bit more every day and reading Thich Nhat Hanh or whoever. I don't, and yeah, I really see that, and that's wonderful. That there is nobody. We are empty. We're just empty in the moment. And so when I see things on, I don't know, not really, and it's like, what is the thing to do, And it's like, all I can say is try to be totally in the moment. That's really it for me.
yeah.
It's like, because we're always there anyway.
And
I
on
mean,
another level, there isn't even a moment because there's no time and there's no chopping up of time into separation and into
exactly.
separate moments. So there's just this seamless, continuously flowing eternity, basically. It's
Being,
outside of time entirely. Yeah, it's timeless.
yeah, yeah.
And there's no beginning or end to it. And there's no here now to it either. So yeah, it's like I don't exist now, was never born, will never die. This separation is just an illusion, this seeming separation. There never is any separation.
Yeah. Yeah, with everything.
Yeah, it's
That's
all
what's amazing.
interconnected and it's all a dream. It's all a fantasy of paradise when it's right side up. When it's
Yeah,
upside down, the seeking mind sees it upside down and says, the world's upside down, it's on fire, everything's fucked. What do we do?
yeah.
And then upon awakening, it's flipped right side up, and you go, oh, it's probably always been this way. I just saw it upside down. Oh, okay. Oh, good. It's always this way. Oh, good.
Yeah,
There's
it's
no
amazing
problem. Yeah.
how we're brought up to believe the opposite. That's what the problem is that
Yeah. It's the
you're just
conditioning.
trained in the
Yeah.
conditioning. And it's like after, like I said, 80 years or something, it's like a difficult thing, although I've had a
Yeah.
lot of experiences in between. So one
Right.
thing that I'm interested in, and I don't understand, I dream every night. I dream every night. And I rarely can remember them. Sometimes, well, I've had some terrible dreams that I've lost this beautiful baby that I had.
Oh,
Terrible dreams,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that I don't I don't understand. I know my dreams are like I'm always busy. It's never happening. It's never getting done. Whatever that kind of thing. And like my life is so peaceful. I don't have to do anything. My life is so peaceful. And is that just the result of having such a peaceful life? I have to go through. I don't know why I have these dreams.
Part of you wants to be limited, part of you knows it's free. Yeah, it's interesting. Freedom masquerading as limits.
Strange.
It likes to do that, apparently. It
It likes to
seems.
do
It just
confuse
it
you.
just happens. It likes to feel not limitless. It likes to pretend for a moment in a functional way that there are limits.
It's crazy. Yeah.
How are we doing on time, by the way?
Um, I
I
don't know
can't
what
check
time it
my
is.
phone for some reason. I gotta master this technology a little better.
I have to see what time it is. It's 2:52.
2:52.
Well, it's
Let's see.
4:52 at your time, I guess.
4:52. Okay.
In Iowa.
Let me see here.
I've taken
Okay.
trips across country. I drove across country a couple of times, so
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Let's see here.
I've driven through Iowa.
Okay, looks like my 5 o'clock canceled, so I don't technically have to. I still have another hour before the next one. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I
well,
gotta
whenever
bring a
you.
little clock with me when I do these.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
But yeah, I like Howard. He's he's helped me magnify my gratitude. There's something about him that's just potently grateful, you know.
So he's suffering a lot. He seems to be in a
No.
pain.
Yeah, he's in a lot of pain.
It's in a lot of pain,
He's in a
but not suffering.
tremendous amount of pain, but he's not suffering.
Well, sometimes he talks about ending it all.
Yeah.
So he was injured. Was he injured when he was a Navy SEAL, or?
It's I think he said he has some kind of connective tissue cartilage deterioration type thing going on. I don't know if it's like autoimmune dysfunction or what, but apparently all the connective tissue and cartilage just kind of started to dissolve on him or something. And from my understanding, he's on an average moment, he's in excruciating pain, and yet he's one of the most bubbly, grateful personalities I've ever encountered. So that's kind of why, even in the awakened state, I kind of view him as my gratitude guru in a way, you know, because there's ways you can deepen different aspects, you know, even in the awakened state, you can deepen compassion and clarity and awareness and emptiness and gratitude and love and
I know. I love being on that.
embodiment. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Not really. No. He also has that. I know he has also said he doesn't want people talking about Osho on his site. So
It's funny because I just had a call today earlier at 11 o'clock, and I was talking to a seeker, and he was at one point he was praising Osho as the greatest thing that ever happened type of deal.
Really?
It's like I can appreciate certain aspects of Osho's message, but that's only if I have the blinders on and haven't heard some of these other stories.
Yeah.
You know, at first glance, I think, oh yeah, you know, the rascality, the rebelliousness, I like that.
Yeah.
And you know, he's hamming up the stage prop nature of everything. I like that, but then you know, I've heard so many horrible things that I can't really form an opinion on it because there's
I
so
read
much.
too many
There
books.
appears to be too much evidence to the contrary. You know,
I've read several books by people I knew there, and no.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And my friend, who was at the birth of my baby, and I'm still connected with her. I still see her, and she suffered a lot. And when we were in Pune, you should have seen her sitting at lecture. She was like a saint. She was just so pure and so much love for this man. And so no, she had to go through a lot.
Yep. That's the thing about, that's rough.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a strange dynamic. And yet I've also heard people that seemingly kind of received some kind of energetic transmission in and around his complexes and things. So it's strange how there's two sides to it, and yet even the people that seemingly received this energetic transmission will straight up say, I fucking hate that guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I was pregnant when I got there, and I didn't know that when I got to
Mm.
Pune, and then I remember start telling people, and they're like, "Well, you have to ask Bhagwan." I said, "I don't have to ask him. I know I'm pregnant, you know."
Wow.
And they're like, "No, you
Yeah.
have to ask Bhagwan because he'll tell you to have an abortion."
Wow.
And one of the people that worked with him, what she said was, "Get rid of it." And I was like, "What?" I had just gotten there, you know, and I was
Weird. That's so
happy. I had
weird.
one child. I knew I wanted another one, and I wasn't married or anything, but it didn't look like that was going to happen. And I still wanted to have a child.
So he
And
was having people get abortions because he hadn't been the one to match make them to begin with. Is that what it was?
no, he said it interferes with the work. Interferes with the work. I said, well, that is my work.
S-
So anyway,
So he did that to anyone who's pregnant, no matter what.
well, they were all encouraged to go and talk to him about it. Yes.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
did. I thought, okay, I will. So I made an appointment for darshan. This couple was called up before me, and they said, well, she's going to have a baby, you know, she's pregnant. And he said, no, 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 you're young and it interferes with the work and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, you
Mm.
know. So then I went up and I said, I'm also going to have a baby. That's what I said. And he said, uh, good. I, you can, you can, something about if you want to be a mother, you can be, I said, I am a mother. And he said, fine, you know, that was fine. And so the whole place was shocked because he never had said that to anybody. So that was one thing.
Yeah. He probably could
Uh,
sense that there was going to be no budging in this conversation, and he didn't want to lose face.
I don't know.
So
I don't
he,
know
yeah.
what I was going to do. I had to
Weird.
wait to think about it because I was definitely wanted to. Well, like I said, I was very spiritual as a young child, and through it all, I was very spiritual. And I'm sorry, I was 34 when I left, 33, 34 when I left the thing. So I felt like I wanted spirituality. And so when I heard
Yeah.
about it, oh, I know what happened. Um, when she was conceived, oh, I had met this man on the beach in Goa, and he had this little baby with him, a year-old baby, little blonde hair, blue-eyed little baby, and he was always crying a lot. So I was just there with my son Prem, who was 7 or so that time, and I went up to him and I said, I saw him trying to put the little baby to sleep in the sun, you know, and it's like, you know, my hut is right up there. If you want to take him up in the daytime, we're always at the beach, and so I got involved with helping to take care of this little baby and with this man. And I said, where is the mother? And he said, oh, well, not all mothers are like you or something. I don't know what he said, but whatever it was a lie. Anyway, so we were together. Oh, yeah, it was that time when I went through a Satori. I was suddenly in a Satori. And when I connected with him, and the night that my daughter was actually conceived, I heard the sound of Om just ringing in my ears.
Mm.
Om, 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 Om. And so I went with him, who was a disciple of Bhagwan Osho, and I went there. I was happy to make that connection. That's why I went to Osho, because because he was there, and I had heard Om, and so yeah, so I knew I wasn't going to give up this baby. I mean, I knew
Yeah.
what had happened at that time. Yeah. So yeah. So I always wear an Om.
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah, I've had very beautiful blessings and satori's and times. Yeah. But when I was really young, studying for like first communion and stuff, you know, 7, and uh, heard about Mary and the guardian angel and Gabriel, and I at that time I realized that religion was a living thing. I wouldn't say it that way at the age, but I knew if I was good, the angel Gabriel would come to me. You know, it wasn't like it was all over and finished. You know, so.
Right, right.
And my little going to be grandson's name is Gabriel.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wonderful. And yeah.
Hmm.
So, well, this is wonderful. Don't feel you have to finish up the hour if you feel finished, or we can go on.
Oh, it
Whatever.
doesn't matter. It's up to you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. So it would be fun to do this again and to meet
Yeah.
Howard and
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I'll create. I'm gonna create a couple different group Zooms. I think I'm probably gonna have one. It's just like a set song to have seekers ask questions. And I'll probably have another one. It's kind of like seekers and sages all in a group, just kind of having a group discussion, just vibing off each other. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I might
I
create a
like it a
Facebook
lot
group or something. We'll see what happens.
because that's what I said. I miss all the people that I'm with in India, all my friends and all the
Yeah.
satsangs. And
We need a
there's
digital
one,
sangha. Yeah.
yeah. And even my last guru said that. He said he was prepared to go to the Himalayas and live in a cave. And he connected with his guru, who's the, what's her name? Anyway, it's a woman. I've seen her on TV sometimes. And that's who his guru was, just connected on the line. And what else was I going to say? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's great because I do want to make a connection with people, and I miss my friends. So I get happy with Thich Nhat Hanh. I actually saw him after reading this book, and then I saw him on TV with what's her name, who interviews this wonderful woman.
Oprah.
Yes, I saw him there just the other day. I saw him. In fact, I saw an interview with Carl Jung from 1959 the other day.
Wow.
Yeah, and I connected with that from something on Facebook or something, and it was like,
yeah. As far as I know, Carl Jung had a Kundalini awakening. Not
well, he was
necessarily
85
enlightenment,
years
but he had a
old on this
Kundalini awakening.
interview, and he was beautiful man and strong, and he had a
Yeah.
Kundalini awakening, I'm sure. Yeah.
He was
I
like a
think
shaman, and he had a Kundalini awakening, and yeah, I can kind of. He talked about it even. He talked about directly that he had a Kundalini awakening. Essentially, I don't know if he experienced liberation, but he definitely experienced at very least a Kundalini awakening. Yeah.
Wow. And I think Einstein was pretty enlightened as well.
Yeah, Einstein and Tesla are both really interesting because it's almost like their consciousness was somehow able to slip out of time. So the best way I can explain it is Einstein was obsessed with and meditating on light, and Tesla was obsessed with and meditating on electricity, and that's all they were doing. The Einstein's entire thing was just thinking about light.
Yeah.
And Tesla's only thing was thinking about lightning, basically.
Yeah, both amazing beings. Amazing. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. So, yeah. Great. That's great. So you're young, right?
Yeah.
How young?
I'm 31.
Oh my God, I hadn't even been to India when I was 31. 31. That's young. Very young. And
I'm a baby sage.
I know. I think it's great that you came out with that. You said, "Oh yeah, I tell everybody everything." I have a couple people, like I have a niece. She had an accident in a swimming pool one time and broke her neck and was paralyzed. She's in a wheelchair now, but she's drives her own car. Her brother is a fireman, and he took a trip. He bicycled across the country and stopped at all the fire departments along in every state to raise money to buy her this car
Oh,
that she could drive with her hands. And so,
nice.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he's written a book about it, even Lauren's Ride.
Yeah.
So I was just on the phone with her. We have long telephone conversations, and we both don't like to talk on the phone, but to talk to each other, we have these long. And she's 30 now, and like we're 50 years apart, but she's like my best friend. And
Yeah.
because of what she's gone through, she's very open, and she
Right.
knows a lot more than most people. So I
And
can
I
talk to
would
her.
say most of the people I can actually talk to, and I'd say the vast majority of all my closest friends are much older than I am.
Yeah, I would
I
think so.
when I meet people my own age, I feel like I'm their dad or something, even
Yeah,
if they're slightly older than me. I'm like, oh, I'm your father. And then it's like, wait, this is weird.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I feel almost like my mental age is twice what my body's age is. So people see a 31-year-old, but I feel like a 62-year-old or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel really young.
That's what my grandma says. She's in her 80s, and when I say that, she always laughs and says, I feel like a kid.
I know. I remember my mom saying that. I look in the mirror and I don't know who it is. I
Yeah.
don't feel any different than I did when I was 18. And it's like,
Yeah.
why would you? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a kind of just off-putting looking in the mirror, actually, and like, well, this is not who I am.
Yeah, that's what my grandma always says. She says, I was talking to her about it. I think it was yesterday, last night I was talking to her about it. And she said, the only thing that reminds me of what age I am is my body. I got the arthritis in my hands, or I'll look at my hands, or I'll go to get out of a chair or something. And then I'm reminded, oh, yeah, apparently I'm an old person, but I
I
don't feel
know.
like one except for the
No.
physical side. Mentally,
Yeah.
though, she doesn't ever feel that way.
Yeah. I know. I've
It's
been very
interesting how that
fortunate to.
works. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it's very strange. Um, but like I say, it's been a great life.
That's excellent.
I'm
Good.
really happy.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid. And
Good. Good.
yeah, it's just amazing, really. I still have a
Yeah.
smoke once in a while. I smoke my grass, and then it's like, oh yeah, here I am. And my sister gave me this mural.
Ah,
It's
yeah.
cloth because I moved into here 2 years ago into my little studio apartment, and I have my Shiva over here,
Ah, nice.
and
Yeah.
my Om over here, but I didn't have anything on this wall, and she bought this for me, and it's like, oh, I can just be here in this
Yeah.
waterfall and trees, and yeah, it's just wonderful.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it's great. My life is good.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. I
So,
felt like I was waiting for my life to finally begin for 27 years. Didn't feel like it even started until awakening. And as
yeah.
soon as it started, that feeling of why isn't my life starting yet? I don't know how to put that. It felt like I was behind on my own life until finally timelessness was revealed, I guess. It's very strange. But yeah, I didn't feel like my life even began until Andrew, went away. It's kind of strange.
Yeah. Well, it is strange that you're young and
Yeah.
felt that way. And I guess it just hits us whenever it's our time. And
Apparently, yeah.
past lives, I don't know. Are there past lives? Or somebody said, well, if your emptiness,
Yeah,
going
if there's
into
nothing, yeah, that's the thing.
emptiness,
If there's nobody in there, what comes back? If there's no
yeah,
identification upon enlightenment, what comes back? Yeah.
right.
Eh, if there's
So,
not two of us here now, then yeah, so it's like if there's no individuality, what comes back? And yet, on the other side of that coin, I did see that I saw a body of light as a geometric shape, which makes me wonder. And I did have a certain type of samadhi experience due to the Kundalini awakening. So it makes me wonder. And
Right.
yet there's no identity here. So I don't know how, I think it's beyond the scope of our understanding. I think all these main points and all these religions are just really bad guesses. And
Absolutely.
it's so
And
much grander than we can ever
ever
truly
imagine.
comprehend
Yeah.
that,
I know to try, I mean, on this,
because it's all they're all your lives in that sense. So
that's right.
does it matter from that level? If it's all you, does it matter?
Right. I know.
So
Quite
the real
interesting.
question is, we know there's this relative layer that seems physical. We know there's this formless absolute layer. Is there a true layer in between? And even if there is, that too is part of the dream. So one way to look at it, I think, is if there is an astral realm, it's the dream, and this is the dream within a dream. You know what I mean? So either way, no matter how you slice it, no matter how you look at it, it's all a dream.
And we're always here in the moment, like you said, even though there's no moment, it's just a presence, a
Yeah.
consciousness.
It's a presence and an absence. It's a moment and a momentlessness. It's weird because I used to think things like, oh, be here now. Yeah.
Right.
Now it's like there's no being, there's no here, and there's no now. There's no here and there. Here and there is dualistic mind. Being in time is a dualistic mind. And being signifies that I'm some separate entity
A
that has
being,
its
or
own
just a being,
autonomy.
or
Or
a
another
being.
thing I always thought was hilarious, is like, it's only, when human beings talk about other animals, they never use the word being, except for when they refer to a human. They say,
Yeah.
I am a human being. It's like they're trying to
Yeah.
convince themselves.
Right. We're not really a
No,
being.
I'm a separate being. Like, why are you
So,
saying that word? Like, you're trying to convince yourself. That's so strange.
Neem Karoli Baba. Uh, so Be Here Now was probably my first introduction to any of this. And then I
Yeah.
went to India, and I met people who had been with Neem Karoli Baba and who knew Ram Dass. In
Yeah.
fact, they lived across the field from me at one point in the mountains in McLeod Ganj, where the Dalai Lama is. I lived there for a while.
Ah.
And they were going to, he had died, Neem Karoli Baba had died, and they were going to the first year anniversary of his death at his ashram in the south. He had two, he had one in the north and one in the south. So I went with my son, and it was quite amazing. It was so hot at this place. Really, really hot. And you disappeared.
Yeah, 1 second. I have to check something real quick. Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
Just checking what
But it
time it
was still
was.
wonderful to be there after having read the book and then
Yeah.
eventually last year I was there, or one of the years before, I went to his ashram in the north, and that was quite beautiful too. It was really fun to
Yeah,
be.
it's interesting because I used to be like a spiritual counselor to people, even before awakening. And I would help people with various things. But it's funny because I would frequently move around and I'd leave town. And so when I would leave, back when I was a seeker and still functioning as a spiritual counselor, I would I would give people the book Be Here Now as if it would replace my presence. Like, okay, I'm gonna be going away here. Use this book while I'm gone. Hopefully it'll come close to what I was trying to say.
Oh yeah.
And now it's funny because Be Here Now is such a paradox. It almost feels upside down. It's so funny. And yet Ram Dass also wrote a book called Becoming Nobody. And I didn't even know he wrote a book called Becoming Nobody when I woke up and was calling myself nobody. I
Oh
didn't I didn't know that until after the fact. I'm going, nobody, and all this non-duality jargon. Then I see that Ram Dass said becoming no. Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
yeah, I met him a couple of times, once in New York when he was talking and about his father dying, and then a couple of times out here in California he came and talked. So I did
Yeah.
meet him, and Yeah.
And I've always been a kind of comparative religion type guy. I always like to look at all the systems and try to find the perennial wisdom core of it. And so I appreciated that in Ram Dass's book. And I used to refer to Be Here Now as the least book-like book I had ever encountered. There's swirling poetry on recycled paper with,
Yeah.
with these images, and it's like the least book-like book I've ever encountered.
I still have I have another copy. They make it smaller now. It's not that long one, but I still have one here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
In
I've
fact,
probably given that book as a gift at least 10 times. Yeah.
I've given it away too. In fact, I just
Every
gave
time I
it to
buy
my
one, I end up
niece.
giving it away again. So
Yeah,
I don't even think I have one. I need to get another few copies, I think.
that's funny. Yeah, I just gave
Uh,
one to my niece that I said that I gave her mine to read, and she enjoyed that. Yeah. Oh my goodness, what
yeah.
a long, strange trip it's been. Huh? Well, really long
Yeah.
for me, not that long for you.
Yeah, every day I wake up and wow, I'm still alive. This is a miracle. How is this going on? It's like it's almost too good to be true. I'm waiting for the world to end or the universe to just stop being dreamt or a bus to hit me or something. It's almost too good to be true. I wake up and it's peaceful and clear and calm, and it's like, wow, this is just so different from what I've been used to for so
Oh,
long.
oh my
Even though it's
God,
been 4 years since awakening hit me,
4 years.
I
So
I
yeah,
just remember the intense suffering. Just the difference is just such a stark contrast that this is why people talk about it. This is why people that's why people like me ramble on about it, is because it's such a stark contrast. It's so
oh,
different.
it's amazing. Yes. Oh, and there's another man when I go to Tiruvannamalai, which is South India,
Mm.
southeast, and it's Ramana Maharshi's ashram, which is
Mm.
the base of this beautiful mountain, Arunachala. And
Yeah.
it's wonderful, wonderful. So that's been the last few years before when I was going. And there is an enlightened man who you have to take a rickshaw out to his place. He lives out there, Werner, his name, he's German. And he and the Alma
Mm.
were really good friends. They knew
Oh,
each other when they were both starting out on the path, and he says that
wow.
she's his guru. But anyway, to me, he is we're talking about. He doesn't have his ashram. He just lives out there. He has a place that's a platform that people can go. Once a week, he'll give a talk during certain months when tourists are there. You can leave a donation if you want. It's not like you have to pay anything. He comes out in his longi, and he's probably my age. He's quite old right now, quite old, and so beautiful, so loving, and so humble. And compared to
Yeah.
Osho and the last person, is like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
the real
this is
deal, the real
the
deal
real
appears as the most
deal.
ordinary human you've ever met in your life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I will go and see him when I go back instead of
Yeah.
any of the others. Yeah, and that wonderful ashram, Ramana Maharshi. So that's been wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Werner. It's funny, when I left Werner 2018, I came back in May, and I told him I might not see him the next year because I'd been going for a few years because I was going to have a grandchild. And he said, well, don't get too involved with that or excited about that or something. And
Mm.
I already knew that. I already had in fact, I had never asked my kids, when are you going to have babies. I had 8 brothers and sisters. So I had a lot of babies in my life. I was
Yeah.
not that I wouldn't love it, but I just never, well, why would I pressure them anyway? But I mean, I never
Yeah.
thought too much about it. But he said that to me, and I think he might have foreseen something that was going to
Wow.
happen. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because why else would he say that? Yeah, that's
Really.
interesting. Yeah. What
Yeah.
what other reason could there be? I can't
Yeah.
think of one.
No, no. So I
Wow.
hope to go back. I don't know if I'll ever go back to India. So I lived there 10 years the first time, and then my son and I went back several times years later. And then I went back, I guess since 2010, I've gone back by myself, probably for 8 years, and spent 6 months there a year, either in Rishikesh or in Tiruvannamalai. So it's
Wow.
just wonderful, fabulous. And I miss it. I don't know when I'm going to get there again, but
Yeah.
we'll see. Maybe never. I don't know. You don't know. You know,
Well, there's
I
so
don't
many
know.
hoops of fire to jump through now to travel the world with COVID and everything going on. It just
Yeah.
seems
So
kind
right
of like
now,
more hurdles to jump over to get to that to go anywhere. It seems.
and then I've got these beautiful little, my little Gabriel and dear, the joy of my life right now. So yeah. So who knows? I'll
Yeah.
go.
Well, I should probably get going. I gotta get ready for my next call, but
Well, this
it's
has
been
been great. I
it's been a
really
pleasure.
enjoyed it so much, and
Me too.
hope we do it again.
Me too. Yeah, we'll figure something out, either one on
Good.
one or group discussion or something. We'll
Yeah.
talk again soon for sure.
Very good. Nice to share things with you. Very
Yeah,
nice.
thanks so much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Have a good one.
You too. Namaste.
Namaste.